The stellar wanderer hummed with an unusual tension as it drifted through the Kepler sector, its hull reflecting the amber glow of a nearby dwarf star. Inside the ship's cramped quarters, Elijah sat at his workstation, pretending to calibrate the navigation systems while his mind raced with everything except hyperspace coordinates. Emma had been acting strange for weeks now. At first, he'd chalked it up to stress. Their last mission had been brutal, escaping a Kryn war fleet by the thinnest of margins. But this was different. The Foxgirl pilot, normally sharp-tongued and focused, had become unpredictable. 3 days ago, she'd knocked over his coffee while leaning unnecessarily close to read a report she could have accessed from her own terminal. 2 days ago, she'd accidentally brushed her tail against his leg during the evening meal. Not once, but 7 times. He'd counted. And yesterday? Yesterday she'd reorganized his entire toolkit, arranging everything by color rather than function, then stood there with those amber eyes watching him discover the chaos, her twin tails swishing in barely contained amusement. Elijah. Emma's voice crackled through the intercom, unusually breathless. Could you come to the cockpit? There's something. I need your opinion on the sensor readings. He sighed, setting down his tools. The sensor readings were fine. He'd checked them himself an hour ago. But Emma's behavior had reached a point where ignoring it felt more dangerous than confronting it. The cockpit was dim, illuminated only by the soft blue glow of the instrument panels. Emma sat in the pilot's chair, her white-tipped ears twitching as he entered. She wore her standard flight suit, but something about the way she held herself seemed different. Coiled, alert, like a spring wound too tight. "What's wrong with the sensors?" Elijah asked, keeping his voice neutral. "Oh, they're fine now," Emma said quickly, spinning the chair to face him. Her tails curled around the seat's base, an unconscious gesture he'd learned to read over their 2 years as partners. She was nervous. "I just thought we should talk." Elijah leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "About?" Emma's ears flattened slightly against her silver hair. "You've noticed I've been acting differently. That's one way to put it." She stood abruptly, pacing the small space between the pilot and co-pilot chairs. Her movements were fluid, predatory, each step deliberate. "It's not something I can control. Not entirely. It's biological." Understanding dawned with the subtlety of a supernova. Elijah's eyes widened. "Oh. Yes. Oh." Emma stopped pacing, turning to face him directly. In the dim light, her pupils had dilated, her typically golden irises reduced to thin rings. "My species goes through a phase every rotation cycle. It's why most Volpari don't serve on mixed crews. Too complicated, too many variables." Elijah processed this information, his engineer's mind automatically cataloging the symptoms he'd observed against this new context. The increased physical contact, the territorial behavior when they'd docked at Station Meridian and that merchant had been overly friendly, the way she'd been spending extra time in his vicinity, even when her duties didn't require it. "How long does it last?" he asked, proud of how steady his voice sounded. 3 to 4 weeks. We're in week 2. Emma's tails lashed once, betraying her frustration. "I should have warned you before we left Mars, but I thought I could manage it. I've managed it before, on other ships, with other crews." She paused. "But this is different." "Different how?" Emma met his gaze, and in her eyes Elijah saw something raw and honest that made his breath catch. "Because it's you." The words hung in the recycled air between them. Outside the viewport, the stars continued, their eternal dance, indifferent to the small human drama unfolding in their shadow. Elijah took a careful step forward. "Emma, I need you to be clear. What exactly are you saying?" She laughed, but it came out more like a growl. "I'm saying that my biology has decided you're an acceptable mate, and it's taking every ounce of my willpower not to act on instincts that are about 10,000 years older than the concept of professional partnerships." "And what do you want?" Elijah asked quietly. "Not your biology, you." Emma's ears perked up, her tails going still. "What?" "You heard me." He closed the distance between them, stopping just outside her personal space. I've known you for 2 years, Emma. I've seen you pilot through ion storms, negotiate with pirates, and once watched you repair a plasma conduit with nothing but spare wire and sheer stubbornness. You're the most capable person I've ever met, so I'm asking, what do you want? For a long moment, Emma simply stared at him. Then slowly her expression shifted from guarded uncertainty to something softer, more vulnerable. I want to stop pretending this is just biology, she admitted. I want to stop second-guessing every time I reach for you. I want. She hesitated, then pressed forward. I want to see where this goes if you're willing, but I need you to understand what you'd be agreeing to. My people bond deeply. It's not casual. It's not temporary. Elijah smiled, the expression transforming his normally serious face. Good. Because humans aren't exactly known for doing things halfway either. We're the species that strapped ourselves to controlled explosions just to see what was on the other side of the sky. We terraform planets for fun. We look at the universe and think, yeah, we can take that. Emma's lips twitched into a smile. That's very HFY of you. HFY? Human saying I picked up at the academy. Humanity, fuck yeah. It's what the other species say when you people do something impossible just because someone said you couldn't. Well then. Elijah reached out, gently taking her hand. Her skin was warm and he could feel the slight tremor in her fingers. HFY to mating season. We'll figure this out. Together. Emma's tails began to swish again, but this time with unmistakable happiness. She stepped closer, resting her forehead against his chest. You're insane, you know that? Maybe. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling her relax into the embrace. But you picked me as a partner. What does that say about you? She laughed, the sound muffled against his shirt. That I have terrible judgment and excellent taste. Outside, the stars wheeled on. Inside the Stellar Wanderer, 2 unlikely partners stood in the cockpit's gentle darkness, navigating the most dangerous territory of all, the space between loneliness and connection, between partnership and something infinitely more complex. Whatever came next, they'd face it the way they'd faced everything else, together, stubborn and utterly unwilling to back down from a challenge.